morning. You're listening to WNHHLP 103.5 FM, New Haven's home for community radio. I'm Mubarakah Ibrahim, and this is Mornings with Mubarakah, where we talk about national issues from a local level. From a lens of diversity, you're listening to WNHH 103.5. We are broadcasting live from downtown New Haven, and we are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and newhavenindependent.org. You can also find us live on both the New Haven Independent Facebook page as well as the Fit Muslima Facebook page. It is a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning. And you know this because this is your Wednesday morning voice. I am so glad to, one, be back here in New Haven because I spent a week in Costa Rica and had an awesome time. So if you listened last week, then you probably heard a repeat of the show because I was ATVing when I was supposed to be here. And I ain't even sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry.
Did you say where were you?
Costa Rica. Yeah, I go to Costa Rica like twice a year.
Love it.
I think I posted on my Facebook page. I said, I know my DNA say Africa, but my spirit says Costa Rica. Costa Rica is so awesome.
Yeah.
So we are back and we are talking with Roberta Hoskie. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So Roberta Hoskie is the president of Outreach Realty and Outreach School of Real Estate. She is in New Haven. She is known as Miss Millionaire Mindset. She is a motivational speaker, inspire. I call her, I'm going to give you a title. I call her a financial strategist.
Okay, I'll take it. I got that.
I'm just signing titles of people.
I'll take it.
And today we are going to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart and a lot of interest. We're going to talk about Black wealth and Black wealth creation.
Okay.
And this is something that is it's come to my attention, or I should say being put in the forefront in the last few months because there's been several articles about, for the first time in like 30 years, the gap between blacks and whites in America in terms of wealth have actually widened. And that has not happened in about 30 years. So not only are we not reducing so it's not even like we're staying stagnant. We're actually, Black and Hispanics are getting poorer and whites are getting richer. And that is creating, and I actually, in doing some research for this show, one of the predictions that I read was that if we do nothing by the year 2053, the Black net worth will be zero.
I'm surprised it's 2053 and not 2033.
Yeah. So this is something I think that we have to really focus on because it makes a huge, it makes a huge difference in every part of life. As a side note, one of the things that we say when we talk about health is that your zip code is a bigger determiner of your health than your DNA code. And so wealth affects every aspect of our life. So really quick, because I want to get into some solutions and what we need to do. But for people who have not had the privy to know a little bit about you, can you give us like a 2-minute summary of where you came from and why this is your passion?
Absolutely. But as I was introduced, I'm the president of Outreach Realty Services, Outreach School of Real Estate, also managing member of MET Construction Management, and I teach real estate investing nationally, as well as motivational speaking. But before I had any of those titles, I was a teenage single mother on welfare and even homeless, getting $417 a month in food stamps to provide for myself and my son. And there has been a drastic change in my life, from poverty to prosperity, from welfare to wealth. My companies, a couple of them are worth multi-millions today.
So Roberta is telling us from a point of not just knowledge, but from experience.
Absolutely.
And that's really important. What do you see as kind of like the biggest issue for African Americans in America in overcoming what we term as generational poverty?
I will have to say that the hand in hand would be education, along with what I passionately speak about often is mindset, the mindset of poverty that I think creates generational poverty. We as parents, you can go ahead.
Explain generational poverty for people who aren't familiar with what that term denotes.
So, generational poverty is basically poverty passed on from one generation to the next generation. And my family, case in point, my great grandmother, those days were definitely different from today, but she had a child when she was a teenager, which is my grandmother. My grandmother ended up having a child, which was a teenager, got on state assistance. Which was my mother. My mother had her first child as a teenager, got on state assistance. My sister had her first child as a teenager, got on state assistance. I had my first child as a teenager, and what did my mother tell me to do and bring me to do? Go get on state assistance. So I think when you become very intentional and looking at your lineage and looking at what family patterns has happened in your life, that's the first step of stopping them.
So how do you explain to people the difference between this kind of like idea that it's about choices versus, I guess in a term, nature versus nurture. So what's the difference between someone saying, well, you chose to get on welfare? How do you respond to that?
Well, it was definitely a choice because I thought there was no other choice, and we're all products of our environment. Whether we want to, whether we stay a product of our environment is up to us. But we only can act on what we know, and so if the only thing we know is state assistance, then that's the only thing that we're going to do. If the only thing we know is to go and get a job just to put food on the table, that will be all we'll ever do. If you're not exposed to a higher level of thinking, a higher level of living, if you're not exposed to that, then you'll never be that. And so this is why I said education is important and the mindset is important. First of all, you got to believe that it can happen. I have no shame. I always talk about being a little brown girl from the hood, 22 family members in the same projects I lived in, 22 of us all together. And what made me different? And as I was thinking, as I prepared to do the wealth conference, the Black Wealth Conference, I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm thinking, God, I thank you for allowing me to break poverty over my life, because I can look in my entire family, and there are some that are successful, whatever that is, but no longer in a state of poverty. But I'm the only one that I know of, as far as I could think, on both sides of my family, that's an entrepreneur that has a business that has lasted more than 3 to 5 years and has made 7 figures in it. And so what has made me different, I believe it was exposure to what I ended up being exposed to and the mindset. And Mubarakah, was the lowest point of my life where I was exposed to the greatest gift of looking at houses. So, I mean, my godparents took me out of a homeless shelter and had me live with them. Again, I was from the projects. I never saw a single family house before. I used to look at them from the outside, and on the Merritt, I used to think all the rich people lived on the Merritt because that's where the single families were, and everybody in the hood was on 95.
World views, right?
Yes, it's only what you're exposed to. And so when they took me in, they lived in a house off of the Merritt, not too far off of the Merritt, and they lived in a single family house. I had never seen a house with a bathroom in the bedroom. I've never seen that, or a walk-in closet. You mean to tell me you could walk in a closet and move around? You don't got to share with your cousins and your sisters and them. And you got your own bathroom. So it's an exposure. But what actually happened at the time is double. I was exposed to something greater than the projects. And I also was told something that I actually believed. And this is why I say mindset. And I was told that there's nothing impossible. And I was also told that it doesn't matter what I look like. It doesn't matter what's stacked against me. It doesn't matter who hated on me. It doesn't matter who tried to stop me. I'm destined for greatness. And the only thing that could ever stop me from reaching whatever I imagine is my own mindset and the way I view myself. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I know that was the game changer. So when obstacles approach when I was homeless and when I didn't have my son. I saw past my problems. See, many of us get stuck looking at the problems and will forever be stuck there until we see past our problems and see the solution. And then not even look at problems as problems, but look at problems as platforms and opportunities to prosper. It's like, what solution or what did I learn from this? And so I've taken that lens. It's a different view of life, of not looking at problems. Yeah, I got a lot of things I can complain about, but there's a whole lot of things that I can celebrate about, even about those things that hurt, the people who left, the things that abuse, and so on and so forth. And let me do a quick plug for my book, The Poverty Curse is Broken, because it's all in the book that's coming out. It's all a matter of the way you view it. See, the mindset is very powerful. I believe that the mindset is one of the greatest gifts that God has ever given us. Before we act, before I came here, I had to, well, I'll use you, for example. I love you to pieces. I love you, and we've had conversations, and truth be told, you're one of the few people who in my early stages encouraged me to go higher and go greater. So I will always be grateful to you for that. Now, the power of the thought process is make it simple for everyone so that you can really see how simple it is. Before you even turned onto IG, Facebook, or wherever we're streaming, you had to see something pop up, and you had to see Mubarakah or Roberta or whatever you saw pop up. So you saw that. And then there had to be a thought process to say, what are they talking about? Or I want to see what they're talking about, or I want to learn about this. There was some type of thought that triggered the action of you clicking the button, of you watching us right now. So that thought created an action, and that action now created the reality of what we're doing right now, and that's watching this show. So everything is that simplistic in life. So a lot of us spend so much time trying to change the results in our life, instead of the results is really the fruit from the tree, is not the roots. So many of us try to change the fruit in our life, and instead of changing the root of our life, which is the thought process of our life. So when we change the thought process, then we will change the fruit. And that's what happened to me. I changed my thought process. You can't tell me something's impossible. I don't care. I'm going to figure it out. And I don't care if it takes me 2 years, 10 years, my whole life is going to happen. And if it doesn't happen to me, through me, it's going to happen through my seed. And so I firmly believe that. And so I've seen it in my life, from homelessness to the story with Elmer and helping homeless people and being able to have the ability to change someone's life like a snap without it even hurting me. And to live in a place where I used to dream about, and it's not my dream home yet. I still got a couple more steps to that big one. But, I literally just brought my dream car, which I didn't even pick up yet. And it's like, you got to remember, I'm a girl from a hood. I'm from the projects. Nothing was given to me. Nothing was given to me. So it was a mindset shift.
How do you recommend that we, and this is generally as the Black community, how do we make a group shift in mindset in order to change our wealth creation in the Black community?
It really hurts me. Whenever you're passionate about something, you're going to be emotionally attached to it. And it really hurts me to divide in our community. And it hurts me to divide amongst us women. But in order for us to change, we have to understand first that we must have unity. We have to get over that crabs in the barrel mentality. And we have to get over jealousness and enviness. So I could put solutions in front of you, but until we reach out and clear out the old baggage inside our heart, and it's not going to prosper. So we have to really do a self-reflection of what it is we think and how we act and how we view other people. Check your own spirit. If you see someone prospering and you see someone doing good, are you like, yay, you go, girl? Or are you like, oh, And if you are, go look in the mirror and go take a retreat somewhere. If you look at her, who she thinks she is, you know what? You're a hater whether you want to admit it or not. So you got deeper issues. Until we get those other layered issues out the way, then we could talk about solutions such as building generational wealth through crowdfunding, like my partner Jay Morrison just did. $12 million in 1 week we raised.
I saw that.
Yes.
I've been watching it.
Absolutely. The Tulsa Fund, the first African American IPO ever created. We made history, and I'm so glad that my sisterhood, Millionaire Mindset Sisterhood, was also a founding member with making it happen. So it's at some point we have to use what we have, and those people who are in line that you move with those people, but we have to understand the power of unity. You see it in every other ethnicity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of, so there is currently this situation going on in Brooklyn. I don't know if you've seen the video of the nail salon so a grandmother, her two granddaughters who were like in their early 20s, they went into a nail salon run by an Asian family, and the granddaughter got her nails, her feet, and her eyebrows done. She paid for her nails and her feet, but she was not happy with the eyebrows and didn't want to pay the $5. And as a result, a fight broke out. And the Asian family, they detained them. They hit them with poles. They threw acetone in the grandmother's face. And it has been really big on social media because the Black community has rallied behind and protested in front of the store every single day to shut them down.
Excellent.
And so from this, I have seen a lot of posts coming about Black women need to now open up nail salons, open up places where they can patronize their own, which led to a really interesting conversation that I had with my husband. And he was like, we need to stop being cheap, because you want to go to other people because you're like, oh, I don't want to pay the extra $1 or the extra $2 to get quality work. Mm-hmm. And we tend to be much more critical of one another than we are of other people. And that is part of the mindset as well.
And we do have to stop being cheap, but we have to be intentional about our money. I don't remember the number. I used to know off the top of my head, but our buying power, I know it shifted in 2018, but we had one of the largest buying power to African American community. And what we do with our money is we go out, we get paid, and we go to the nail salon. Well, they're not Black, they're Asian, or whatever they are. And then we decide we want to go out for dinner, we want to go and have some pizza. Well, you know what? They're not Black either. They're Italian. And then we want to go to the corner store and patronize the corner store because we need some milk. Well, they're Indian. So until we understand the power of being an entrepreneur, and then also until we understand the power of our dollar, where we direct it, how that can shift. The Tulsa Fund is case in point for that. We were intentional about where that money was going to go. We just put $1 million cash offer to buy the original buildings of the Black Wall Street. That's powerful. For years, people have been talking.
Which one? The one in Oklahoma?
Yeah. For years, people have been talking about, let's rebuild Black Wall Street. What's the plan? People need to stop talking. At this point in time, it's about action. So what's the plan? Put your money where your mouth is. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Shut up and sit down somewhere. We need to really be real and intentional about what we're doing. And yeah, I'm a girl from the hood. That's why I'm going to say shut up and sit down somewhere. And my title is still Dr. Roberta Hoskie. And it is. So we have to understand, we have to stop being cheap. Black folks, stop being cheap, and also be intentional about spending your dollar with the Black community and your Black businesses. And stop, like you said, stop being so hard on them. If you see something where they can do better, pull them aside and write them a note, not the city, not on Facebook, and say, listen, sis, or listen, brother, I saw this when I was in your company. Maybe you want to consider doing this so that you can be better, so that other customers may be more satisfied. Don't go on social media and blast them. That's awful. Our mindset is all raggedy.
So explain to our listeners why it makes a difference to patronize Black businesses. Like, how is that going to benefit our community if we're patronizing Black businesses?
Well, first of all, if you look outside, and you probably can count on one hand how many Black businesses are there and how many are no longer there who started and didn't stay. Well, most of the reasons, there's a number of reasons why businesses don't flourish. But for Black businesses, we're not being patronized, meaning that the money's not coming into the business. And if the money's not coming to the business, how do we survive? How do we survive? And Jesus, Lord help me. We really have to work on our mindset, because some people, and I've heard this conversation, I'm sure you probably have, where people are like, oh, I'm not going to them. They Black, or they don't know what they're doing, or this person knows what they're doing, and they make those assumptions based on the color of your skin. And that is still a mindset issue. But until we direct our dollar, like we said, we have one of the highest buying powers. I believe we still do. I don't recall the number.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. We still have the highest buying power. That means that we have the power of hoping that small business flourish, and they're more likely to employ African American people. So that means that it directly impacts the jobs that are available for us, because Black people will hire Black people before people outside of ethnicities will hire Black people. So it's a chain reaction.
So according to the Nielsen report, Black buying power is at $1.2 trillion in America.
$1.2
trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Trillion dollars.
With a T.
When we say Black people are poor, doesn't mean that Black people don't have money.
No,
it's about where we direct our money.
It's about where we direct our money, and that's all. Look, the government, Black people, listen. The government will shut down if we ever decide not to patronize. What was that? $1 trillion? Could you imagine if we decide to keep all our money together? Trillion? We will put this whole United States on America on shutdown. That's how powerful we are. We just need to recognize, I don't care if it's your disability check. I don't care if it's your welfare check. I don't care if it's your 9-to-5 check. You have power and you have worth. When we get together, 1.2 trillion, 1.2 trillion with a T, together we have that type of power. And this is why we started the conversation, the power of unity. You know, we could do with $1 trillion with a T. Come on, y'all. Let's get it together.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Mornings with Mubarakah on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, New Haven's home for community radio. We're broadcasting live from downtown New Haven and streaming live on Facebook and TuneIn Radio. We're talking with Roberta Hoskie. She is the financial strategist, the millionaire, Miss Millionaire mindset. She is the president of Outreach Realty Services and Outreach School of Real Estate. And we are talking about Black money, y'all. We are talking about Black wealth. Let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. This is my favorite topic because I think that it's so funny because it is important, and it is, in a way, people look at it as being rebellious, because we, meaning as a society, raise our kids for them to think you're going to go to school, you're going to find a job, and so we are training them to work for other people. And I always have like a thing. I had this conversation with my son, and he was like, well, I have friends who finish school and they still can't find a job 6 months after they finish school. I said, because they went to school for the wrong reason. They went to school to find a job and work for somebody else. They have education. They have a degree. What kind of business can they start? You don't go to school to train yourself to be someone's employee. You go to school to be educated. And so it's a conversation that I have a lot with my kids. And I have a lot with people who aren't my kids too. Like, there is a huge difference between you working for somebody else and you seeing your own idea, your own passion be your source of income. So I love the story that you posted the other day about your daughter in the vending machine. So tell us how you raised your kids with a mindset of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, definitely. They know that I am for being an entrepreneur, for signing your own paychecks. I've taught them that's the only real job security, and that this society and the government has lied to us and lied to so many people about this perception of job security. There is no job security. The only job security is if you signed your own paycheck, and that you are never to have a company, never to have a person, never to have an entity so powerful over your own personal life that you would slave for them, that you would give them your time in exchange for your happiness, exchange for your freedom, where you can control it. And so I've taught them that, and my daughter is budding, and she's Roberta Hoskie on steroids. You better watch out for that one. She scares me. She scares me. She scares me. She's something. Like, she was working at Dunkin' Donuts, and she had a nice job there. She was a top employee, very productive. She's good work ethic, and she didn't like, so prior to her working there, she worked somewhere else, and she decided to have a meeting with the bosses because she didn't think that their HR policies were in line and fair for everyone. So she had a meeting with the bosses, her first job. So, needless to say,
How old is she?
She was 16.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah,
so,
needless to say, yeah.
I said, you said what? She says, I told them, because if they're going to do this and they need to do that. And she was right. But she's 16, and they're like in their 30s, right? So needless to say, that didn't go well. So now we are at her next job, which is at Dunkin' Donuts. Fabulous employee. She's smart. She's witty. And another manager tried to, help her out with some things or try to correct her, should I say. And that didn't necessarily go well. And so my daughter got into a little bit of not an argument, but some words back and forth. And in the midst of it, the gentleman says to my daughter, well, if you need this job, and I know my daughter, and for those of you who are looking at us on live, her face was like this. Her face was like it was shifted, because she knows I told her she will never be dependent on a job. So that did something in her, and she was like, oh no, I don't need this job. She left. She had her last check. She took that check and invested it, went to Costco's, and she got her vending machine with the barbershop, and she took that money and went into the vending machine. See, I didn't even know she did this.
Really?
The way I found out, this is why I took the picture. I didn't know she did this. All the time, and I said to her, I said, Ali, what did you learn from this? I'm thinking she would say, sometimes you need to be a little bit humble, or sometimes you need to listen to authority. She said, well, I learned I'll never be able to work for anybody. I can't argue with you. But I didn't know.
And how old is she now?
She just turned 18.
Okay.
So I'm sitting here, and I was at my office, and I said, can you go to my office, which was down the hall? And I said, get me $1 because I want a water from the vending machine. And she goes, no, I have it. I was like, you have it? Where did you? Because the girl doesn't have a job right now. And so I said, what do you mean? And she opened up her book bag and loads of money. I was like, and that was the picture. Literally, I was like, say what? My mouth open. I was like, oh, what? I was like, what? Like, girl, what you doing? What you better not be hustling. I work too hard. You don't have to hustle. Oh, but what she ended up doing was taking that money, going and
so she went to a barber shop and said, can I put a vending machine in here?
Well, they had a vending machine that wasn't being utilized.
Okay.
And so she had the conversation about filling up the vending machine that's not being utilized. It's just there. It works. And so whatever happened.
Okay, so they wasn't putting snacks or anything in the vending machine. Okay, so she supplied the snacks.
Yeah.
She got, okay.
And I explained to her about giving people a return on investment. How if they're investors, you have to pay them a money. You keep a surplus. And so apparently, I don't know. I didn't check her, but that she should have handled her business. But let me tell you, she was making money. And yesterday she says, "Oh my, I'll be back. I gotta go fill with my vending machine. No problem." And, yeah,
wow.
So. And then she didn't wake up again. She when she was working time to make the donuts. You gotta get up early in the morning. Right? She's sleeping. I was like, oh Lord have mercy. You
done made a monster. You done made a monster. She done learned time freedom. She done learned hustle.
Yes. I said she Roberta on steroids. She is. I don't know what she gonna do. But remember her name, Alia Graham.
Wow.
Remember.
Wow. I love that. I love that. That is so funny. So let's connect this back, because I see the connection of both exposing our youth and ourselves to a higher level of of living and giving them the mindset of entrepreneurship. Do you think that that's something? How do parents who maybe just working 9 to 5, never seen a mansion themselves, right? Like, how do they break that pattern for their kids?
So it starts with conversations, as we just said about job security, that's not true. The only job security is when you sign your own paychecks. But it also is a scary thing being an entrepreneur. So everything for me is always going to point back to mindset and overcoming fear and procrastination and things of that nature. But also believe back to the beginning how I said my godparents said that I was destined for greatness and that nothing was impossible. But back to being in tune with who you are, your natural gifts and talents. And understand those gifts and talents are not necessarily hobbies that you give away for free, but you can monetize those things. So then it kind of takes the scared portion out of being an entrepreneur if you do something that you actually love. Now, as those are conversations that you have with your children, I think that it's utterly important that we teach our children how to manage money and how to invest, and how there's multiple ways, so many ways of making money that you can't even count it. And going to a job is only one way of making money. It should not be the sole way of making money, as the government has nicely brainwashed us into thinking. And so we have to have those conversations, even if you haven't seen the mansion, even if you are stuck in what I call the rat race. You can free your children by freeing their mind and giving them this education early on. I also employed this with my children growing up, and this is something that I suggest that every parent, everyone that's raising a child, do, and have fun with them, and you'll be teaching them life lessons without even them feeling like they're being taught anything. And this is something, we all go to the grocery store. So in the grocery store, what I've done with my children is I gave them a budget in the grocery store. I may give them $5, $10, and let them get whatever they want, but they had to stay within between the money that I gave them. And so what it began being, it was fun to them, and it was a game because they had to keep calculating, can I afford this? Can I pay for this? Can I get this? Or if I can't buy this, then maybe I get this and this. And so what I was doing indirectly was teaching them budgeting skills. And to today, they go into the grocery store, what's the budget? And so those are things that we have to teach as our children young. And this other quick strategy that I think we should do is, at the age at least 9, I suggest that you open up a custodial bank account for your children at least 9, so that they can understand, and even younger if you have an advanced child. But I'm saying 9, you open up a custodial account for them, and you take them to the bank with you. You open it up with, let's say, $30. Let them have the $30. Give them the $30 to put in the bank. Let them be part of the process of opening up this bank account. And then on a weekly basis, have them do something so that they can earn an allowance. And that allowance, let's say, is $10. You teach them with that $10, you give them $10 cash. You give it to them in a $5 bill in 5 singles. And what you do is you teach them 10, 30, 60. And so what you teach them, 10, 30, 60. You take 10% of that money and you give it to a charitable cause. You take 30% of that money and you put it in the savings account, which is equivalent to $3, right? The charitable cause is equivalent to $1. And then the discretionary fund, they may not understand that word, but that's the money that you could put in your pocket, is $6. You take them to the bank every week with the ATM card or walk to the teller, and you have them actually put the $3, that 30% of that money, in the bank. Teach them how to save. And we then we won't have an epidemic of grown folk that don't have a bank account and don't know how to save. Teach them how to save. And then you say, this is the money that you're saving. You don't touch this money. You have the $6 to work with. And then bring them to whatever charitable cause, whether it's a church, whether it's a not-for-profit agency, whatever it is, and have them give their dollar and get a receipt for it. Because we got to understand the power of philanthropy, too, with our cheap selves. Just cheap. Philanthropy is power. What you do unto others, you do unto yourself. And so I think those are lessons that we could teach our children no matter where we are financially in life. But those are some life lessons that you could teach your children that can change the mindset of money.
Because you can do that with $5.
You could do it with $5.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about learning the practice of it.
Absolutely.
So talk to us. So we have about 10 more minutes left for the show. Tell us about the Wealth Creation Conference coming up.
Oh, yes. Listen, I am so excited. So, ATL is my second home. So it is going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. We are having the ultimate Black Wealth Conference. It is being hosted by my bro, Jay Morrison. As many of you know, he made world history with raising $12 million in 1 week with the only 100% minority owned IPO offering for the Tulsa Fund. And he is the host, so that's definitely an ultimate Black wealth creator. We also have the powerful Dr. Boyce Watkins, of which I grew up watching him, and now I'm on the platform with him. So he's powerhouse. He's definitely into Black economics, and he also is into young entrepreneurs and teaching them how to make money. Of course, yours truly, I am the female wealth guru that is on the platform. Yes, 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 representing New Haven, Connecticut. The girl from the hood. So I am definitely the only female wealth creator that is on that platform. Queen Ernestine Ernestine Morrison now.
I was gonna say she just got married.
She just got married and they had a wonderful wedding.
Beautiful wedding.
Oh my gosh, I enjoyed myself like you wouldn't believe. Oh, she was so beautiful.
I saw that.
She's a powerhouse. I love Queen Ernestine. She's a powerhouse.
You know, I used to follow her when she was a poet and do poetry. And then when I started following Jay Morrison, I was like, oh, look at that. Isn't this a small world?
Yes.
Look who's married.
Yeah, you know, they came here. I had them here last year, Ernestine
no,
and Jay, right
that.
on Whaley Avenue. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And she still is a beast at her poetry.
Yeah.
I love her to pieces. She's a powerhouse. So
I remember when she was on Arsenio Hall. That's when I first saw her. Yeah.
Oh my God, love her. So Queen Ernestine is there, and I'm sure she's gonna bless her with some poetry. And she's very pro women, pro Black, and she's been on the front line for a lot of civil rights issues that as women we face. So she's definitely a civil rights activist as well. So she definitely will be there. We have Credit King, Will Roundtree will be there, and Isaac also will be there. So there's a number of us, and I believe there may be a couple other people that are on the platform, but it's gonna be a powerhouse.
So what can people expect to take away from this conference?
Well, they can expect to walk away with skills. We're going to be teaching definitely a different type of mindset. They're going to walk away with knowledge of where we are, the state of the Black, not the community, but the state of Black America as a whole, what we can do, and solutions. So we are everyone that's on the panel, we're all solution-oriented people. As the Tulsa Fund was a solution, we're all solutions. So you'll walk away with some solutions to how to create wealth, not just for yourself, but for your family and for your next generations to come. We can, like I said, there's a lot of people who can just talk, but at some time we have to put some things into action. And this Ultimate Wealth Conference is one of those things that we're putting into action so that you and whoever comes will be able to put it into action.
I actually just found out about it yesterday, and I am trying to look at my schedule and say, can I do this? It's in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Okay. Last 2 minutes, I want you to tell us a little bit about your book.
Oh my gosh, yes. All right. So my book is the hardest thing I've ever done. It's easier for me to create a multi-million-dollar business. The book is called The Poverty Curse Broken, the Roberta Hoskie story. It is my story. It is the story of how I became who I am today. But it also is a story of things that I have not shared with the world about my childhood, things that I had to overcome, abuse. I got scars literally from physical abuse, all types of things that happened that I know people don't necessarily talk about, but I felt the need to have to put it out there so that people can relate, because many of us have let our past hinder our future. And so I put this book out there with steps as well on how to break poverty over your life, basically using the steps that I use. I can only talk about what I know worked for me and that I know for sure what worked for me. And so this book is very transparent about my life. cry like you wouldn't believe, and it is very emotional.
And when is it out?
It is out for pre-sale right now at robertahoskie.net, robertahoskie.net, robertahoskie.net. Up for pre-sale, will be out before the end of the year.
Okay. And so I always like to make sure our listeners can follow, find, contact our guests. What is the best way for people to follow and find you?
On Facebook, you can follow me at Dr. Roberta Hoskie, Miss Millionaire Mindset. And on Instagram, it's Miss Millionaire Mindset, MS_Millionaire Mindset.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
This is one of the topics that I love, and a person that I love to talk to about it.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for joining. You've been listening to Mornings with Mubarakah on WNHHLP. And I want to remind you now, as I do every week, go about your week to be a voice and not an echo.
Oh, like that.
Oh,